Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Flynncast Friday. Today's discussion is going to be about the two recent patches that we've gotten, so I hope you guys are kind of ready. We got ourselves another 3 guests prepped, and they are already waiting to talk to everybody, and they've been some 2 very big patches, so it's not a lot to talk about, but we certainly have had some major changes that it might be, on the extensive side. Today's guests, well, I'll let them introduce themselves. As I hop into the channel.
Feeling cool. What's up, Lynn?
Good evening, guys, and welcome. And once again, thank you guys for joining me on today's stream. I'm gonna let you guys go ahead and do your own introductions and tell us what server you're on and who your favorite character is. And I'll be honest, we'll start off at the top of the list. Earl, you go first.
All right, I'm Big Earl. I'm on NA server, mainly a world boss player. Favorite DPS, probably in net. Well, favorite character is probably in net.
Ice, you're next.
Hey, I'm Allspice. I'm an NA player and mostly PvP player. My favorite character is absolutely Kasel. There we go.
Well, and our last guest is our fellow creator, Val. Would you do the honors?
Hey, I'm Valella, or Val, NA server as well, and I'm sure most of you already know, but my favorite character is Frey.
Well, and you guys, I hope you would already know me by now. My name is Flynn, I'm a scuffed PvPer, and obviously my favorite character is also Kasel. So, today we guys... Yeah, and it's actually real funny. Today we're actually a stream full of NA players, so it just so happened that RNG has all NA players today. Well, guys, it's been about a month since we last had our last podcast, and things do change fast, especially the last 2 patches were incredibly huge. I'm just gonna go ahead and go straight down the list so we can get started and we can get everybody kind of start talking. Earl, what is your thoughts on the state of the game and the current quality of life changes that we've seen recently? I know that they dropped that really big patch in terms of the presets that we just got, which a lot of people are just raving about.
Yeah, so I've seen, I haven't personally delved with like the gear setups or whatnot, but just looking at it, the quality of life is huge. The fact that they finally introduced user weapon rune pages, which they probably should have done eons ago in my opinion, definitely helps out a lot. It'll save everybody on, physical tough runes, mostly for my case, for like Shakma. But I'm enjoying it. Can't complain really too much.
Rune pages were definitely a thing people were asking for. I was a personal culprit of having multiple UWs in the past. Obviously can't do that with soul weapons, but rune pages definitely help. Pies, what are your thoughts about the current state of the game and the quality of life changes that we've been receiving?
Okay, I like it. I like the preset a lot, to be honest. It's like it saved me so much in hassle going through all my gears for different contents. I feel like a lot of people was like low-key not really used to it right now. It's like one button and everything is set and ready and like perks and whatnot. So it's like they had to go back and double check, but over the time it was just get better as well. So there's that, and well, let me see. Rune page, definitely a huge improvement. There's one thing that I haven't had a chance to go through with the rune page is that, if we are able to swap the rune page in LOH during queuing, I don't think we can, right?
I don't think we can. I believe that it was already confirmed that we can't do that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be done like that way.
I see.
Yeah.
Well,
yep.
Val, how about yourself?
I definitely gotta say, Vespa's really like on the ball with all these quality of life. Like, past few patches have been like some really good quality of life changes. Gear presets, probably like the absolute best thing that could ever happen. To like my personal opinion, like that thing like saves me so much time. It's crazy. But my only concern with it is now that we have presets, those gear like sets, the individual ones, they start to become a little less like necessary to the people that have like all 40 of them. Kind of like, I don't know, I'm not sure. You don't really need all 40 of them anymore, so I feel like they should do something about that. Like, even though they did change them a little bit, I don't know. You really just don't need them after gear presets, in my opinion.
All right.
I still think they are necessary, to be honest, because like sometimes you get lost between all your gears. For people who has a lot of gears ready playing around, and you're like, I don't know if this one go with this set and whatnot. So it's still necessary. Although I partially agree with you that we don't really need 40 of them, but having some available is still a nice option to have. It's just an icing on the cake.
Yeah.
I personally am a user of that particular feature because I have a lot of gear sets, especially, you guys already know I have like 5 gear sets for Dark Lord Kasel now, and I have like 3 of them for normal Light Soul. So I personally, though, I love that feature. I think that, Lost in a Sea of Gear is definitely where it's at. How about the current state of the game, Earl? What are your current feelings about the current state of the game? Not getting into any specifics, just your overall feeling of the game.
I think the game's in the right direction right now. They did well this past update, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to how they're going to be handling mainly A3, even though it's on the bench for now. That'll be the make or break for me, at least.
Please don't.
Well, Pies, what are your thoughts about the state of the game? Current feelings?
Okay, first of all, I'm not ready for A3. I'm like, alright. Let's be clear about that. But no, I think the game is going in the right direction. I completely agree with her on that. Right? Vespa has been listening to the players a lot more lately, and that's a huge improvement because at the end of the day, a game doing well or not entirely based on how happy the gamers are. So it is a right direction right now. Like, they're doing a lot of improvement to make the gaming experience a lot better. And that aside, overall, I have a lot of mixed feelings about the game right now. To be honest, I like the game and I love what Vespa is doing. At the same time, I feel like the game is changing like so rapidly. It's just a mixed feeling. Like sometimes you think about it, it's like, why are things changing so fast?
Okay. And then that sounds fair because there are definitely a lot of changes happening. Val, what about you?
Yeah, as everyone said, Vespa's definitely like doing really well with what they're doing with the game right now. Like I'm pretty happy with the state of the game at the moment. I think the only thing they really need to focus on is like balancing. Like I know that's something like everyone's really concerned about, because like there's always going to be that disparity of like certain heroes doing more things than others, and old heroes still being like irrelevant or not being relevant enough. But other than that, I really think that the state of the game is really a lot better than it was before, at least, and that's really good. They're really improving everything that they've kind of like done.
All right. So while I share my feelings, audience, if you guys want to express your feelings, because I know some of you guys are actually are kind of talking about your feelings of the game, and I will be happy to relay those to everybody else in the chat. While you guys go ahead and express your opinions about the current feelings of the game, I'll tell you guys a little bit about mine. As a creator, I have to sometimes also have a professional opinion and try to keep my feelings aside. In my professional opinion, the state of the game is in a good place in terms of the actual quality of life changes. They've had... I'm actually enjoying the content that they're releasing. The issue that I'm running into is, and I'll be honest, this also could be my PvP side talking, there's a severe amount of unbalance happening right now. And I know there was actually a lot of rage at Fallen Frey, which we'll get into once we kind of get into that particular aspect. But I listening to a lot of the PvPers, which honestly hurts me because a lot of them are also my friends, a lot of them are actually complaining about severe imbalance in the game, and that is still going to be, I guess, every game's worst nightmare is actual balancing. In terms of the actual content they're putting out, including the story dungeons, which you guys, there is without a doubt, you guys probably already seen at least some portion of the Fallen Fate stream that we did at the beginning of the month. I love the story. The plot is hitting me really, really hard. I'm getting emotional over it. The content itself, I'm actually having fun, and we'll talk about probably the Eclipse changes, obviously later on in the actual stream itself. I'm really good with their quality of life changes and what they're doing in terms of content. I'm really, really scared of the balancing, and I'm actually quite terrified of it. And there are still a lot of old heroes that are in a really bad position, and the new heroes are releasing incredibly broken, which just makes things a whole lot worse.
I agree. And
looking at chat, I do see that Vale said he wants to cry himself to sleep after the story. Fair enough. Dragons feels like Cash will win the PvP. I'm sorry you actually feel that way. Unfortunately, that is a half-decent statement because there is quite a bit in the Cash shop. Story had me feels bad, man. Yep, me too, Earl. Dragon said, I know a few people who are going to stop playing KR due to the lag on their phones, not being able to play it anymore. What do you guys think? How's performance on your devices? I know a lot of us may play emulator. I play split. I play on both.
I actually just had some pretty significant lag when I was booting up my phone to buy some stuff in-game, but it's noticeable on emulator too. Like, as soon as you boot it up and I went to do like World Boss Run, and it was just lag central.
Emulator is pretty terrible compared to my actual devices. I'm actually on that board, and I don't know what to do. It could be here. I mean, I will say without a doubt, I have a state-of-the-art computer, yet I struggle to run King's Raid. It's just, I'm like, wow. I can here run this AAA game on full settings, but King's Raid is like, feels bad, man.
For me, it's been better on emulator than my phone, actually, on my mobile device, but that's just me. Even though on emulator lately, there's been a lot of I don't know if you guys have experienced this or not, but I've been experiencing like the unknown error, like, you know, connection errors. We tried, yeah. It's been like, they took care of it for a good while, but now it's like still popping out every now and then. So I don't know what to deal with that. But all in all, also another thing I would like to add to the quality of life is I absolutely love the new interface of the special shop.
Yes. Yes. High five. That one was great.
High five.
If you know what, and you know what, this could be a test too. If you guys remember in the producer video, they were definitely talking about how they were going to be revamping the entire user interface. So the special shop might be currently the testing ground for that before that rolls out kind of to the rest of the game. And who knows, that may solve a lot of clunkiness.
True.
That might be. That's true.
Val, what about your feelings on that?
I can't really say. Yeah, I can't really say because I only ever play KR on my laptop, and personally, like I've never really experienced any of like the major crashing issues that other people have. Like, I'll only crash like maybe like once a month, maybe, like at most, I guess. Like, I don't know what people are on about. For some reason, for me, I run completely fine.
Okay, and that's fair. Some people have no issues, and some people have issues. I mean, it's just every device is different.
Yeah, it's just how it is.
Oh, and let's see, we got a few more. Turbo mode on Eclipse heroes set at full mana, all skills off cooldown, and cast nothing. Should be addressed, I hope. Probably. I think this is the first time we've ever had turbo mode in this game, period. So there's probably, it's definitely something they probably gotta tweak and learn. Mobile games still don't market as big as console games, so microtransactions can be essential. Yep, that's loading, shop, take two. Really, I think the shop loads so much quicker for... You're the first one to actually say the shop takes too much time now. I think it's actually pretty dang quick. Only problem I have is not being able to use skills in LOH sometimes. I think that is more of a connection issue. I'm not sure about you guys. Do you guys have run into that often?
It's really rare.
Yeah, it's definitely a connection issue.
No, I haven't gotten any issue like that in LOH.
And Lance
I've had that a few times.
I think a lot of the current complaints are actually definitely coming out of more on the connection side. Even Lance says my Vel kills are all dependent on how much lag I have for Loman slow weapon activation during downs. It's bad sometimes. That's definitely terrible to hear. Well, I mean, if you guys have nothing else on the current feelings of the game, we can go ahead and get started. Any final comments?
Actually, yes.
Go for it.
Is there any way we can get rid of the black screen every time a character casts a skill?
That's I guess something. I guess.
Who's with me on that though? Does it get on like does it cause like extra lag on your device, or it causes you like unnecessary, distraction? Or
I would tell it to you this way. Just be glad they now turned off skill cam by default. Remember when we all installed
my
KR
Yeah,
and
yeah,
skill cam was not
yes,
baby
yes.
steps. Baby steps. Long and somebody says long overdue, Pies. There you go. There are people that agree with you.
It is. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we can start getting into the bread and butter. Let's pull up our first victim and one character who is truly close to my heart because obviously he is tied to our very own protagonist. That is the Dark Lord himself. You guys already know how much I fall in love with this character. You guys see him literally right now running my Shakma. I struggle to get him to where I want him, especially in this first few weeks. Let's talk about PvE and PvP balance. Earl, you've also been extremely close to me the past few weeks. What are your current thoughts about the PvE side of Dark Lord Kasel?
Honestly, he's usable in PvE. I would say he's not up to par as obviously some of the meta DPSs are. I just really don't know. It's like I haven't personally used him enough to really comment on it. I just mainly based off like your streams of him and your testing with him as well. So he's in an above average tier in my mind, but he could definitely use some reworking, like mainly his stacking requirements to enter Dark Lord form or whatnot.
Yeah.
Like if you there's not really much content like PvE wise where an enemy would cast a shield to where he can't get stacks, but something like that could probably be worked or addressed in my mind.
Okay. What do you feel about his skill scalings? Or not much of an opinion, and that's totally fair to not have an opinion.
I've seen some. Well, it's more for PvP, but
Yeah.
like his skill 2 could use a tone down in my mind because it could one shot some pretty fragile or even well built backlines when he's wheeled enough. So I don't know. That'd be a pretty tough one to address, to be honest with you.
That's fair. Then I mean, it's just part of backline pressure too, and it makes up for the terrible scaling on S1. But again, we'll kind of get to that in terms of. I will tell you, like S1 is unusable in PvE. Period. Because no matter what you do, that's a DPS loss. No matter what. Yeah, and it only has utility, obviously, in PvP, but we'll get to that side in a little bit. Pies, what about your thoughts about the PvE side of our Dark Lord?
PvE side, I would say he is a beast in PvE. Not gonna lie.
Compared to Lightsoul, he is a beast.
Yeah, maybe I'm so used to like struggle with the light version of Castle in PvE. So like seeing him performing in PvE, I was like, wow, what have I been doing with my life?
Yeah, similar feeling.
Yep. So it's. I mean, I don't really see any like downside. Like he has a lot of stacking mechanism that can really wrap up all of his damage. He has boss damage scaling. He has tons of free stats from his perks. So if you like using the right UT for it, he can stack up tons of attack penetration, which is like a really important stat late game because a lot of high end boss in PvE content has a ton of depth. So pen is getting more and more relevant these days, and that's also a reason why he's performing so well. And the cleave make all the difference too. Oh my god, I can't even state how much I love.
I love the beam. I love it. Everybody knows how much I enjoy the beam.
Yep.
All right, Val. Again, I know you're probably not so much on the Dark Lord Kasel train, but you've also been pretty close to me the past few weeks. What are your thoughts on his PvE side?
I mean, from what I can tell from your streams, he definitely seems very like good. Like Earl said, he's still not really on par with like all the meta physical DPS. Obviously, you got like Cecilia and stuff, but he but comparing him to that's like I don't know. You really don't want to be doing that, but yeah, he definitely has like a lot of like strong points. I mean, obviously, like for most people, I would think he's better than Lightsol in PvE for most situations at the very least. So there's that. As much as that hurts for you, but yeah, he's definitely like he's definitely like above average, as Earl said. But I don't think he's really at that point where he's completely broken.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
He's not. No, he's not broken.
It's not.
Yeah. So while I continue to let chat to go ahead and give us their thoughts on PvE, Dark Lord Kasel, I'll kind of give out mine. You guys, and I've been asked this question so many times, and I think you guys have also seen it almost everywhere where I pop into chat. Hey Flynn, who do you like more, Dark Lord Kasel or do you like Light Kasel? I'm like, okay. To clear the air, OG Kasel is my baby. I love him. He's my pride and joy and heart and soul, but I do love Dark Lord Kasel because he is still Kasel. He is a solid investment in PvE. In the way to word it, he's a really good generalist because he can be a tanky character, and I'm not talking about overly tanky, like an actual decently tanked character, where he can do a lot of DPS and be able to clear, to be honest, all the general content that the game has to offer. And you guys were with me when we cleared Big Shack 7, which I'll be happy to show people once we recharge Big Shack. He cleared Big Shack 7. Obviously, I have all the supports that was needed to help him clear Big Shack, but he was able to do it. And he downed that one. So he has the ability to go ahead and PvE. However, in terms of if you actually want to compare him to Lightsol and Dark Lord Kasel, miles above in terms of how much better they are. Looking at chat, why people make you choose when they are all count? Yeah, I don't know. I'm just sitting here waiting for the Fallen Frey topic to come up. Don't worry, we will be there really, really soon. Oh boy, these damages. Oh, I guess you're looking at that. He's a solid investment if you want to focus on PvP and PvE in one unit. Trillo, that is beautiful. We will literally start touching on the PvP side in just a second. Dark Kasel is the only male hero I'll play voluntarily. Okay. People still hating him. We knew that. Alright. His defense pen is scary. It's on the decent side. Yep. Alright. So now, even though we've now stepping away from the PvE aspect, PvP aspect now. Earl, what are your thoughts on Dark Lord Kasel's PvP aspect?
I could probably vouch for a lot of the community, even though I'm not a big PvP hero myself. His skill 1 instant mana block for 4 seconds, probably pretty cancerous and probably needs to be toned down to it.
It is pretty cancerous, but the skill doesn't hit as hard as you might think, because a lot of people are like, oh, the skill hurts. No, it doesn't, man.
Well, I mean, like, I guess against a well-invested Dark Kasel versus a well-invested, enemy team, it's not going to do much damage, true. But I mean, like, look at it from like the majority of the player base that doesn't have, essentially whaled supports, tanks, DPS, etc. could easily burst if they're going against a A220 10-star Dark Lord Kasel. I can see from their point of view why they would think he needs to be toned down. At least that instant skill right there. Yeah. But in my mind, like the mana block itself could use the tone down. Because 4 seconds in PvP may not sound like much, but it can make or break an initial, especially versus burst comps.
I will revert that question to you, and I will kind of word it this way: Requena has had that very same feature, except it's been longer. For how long now?
True, but I'll put it like this: Requena, she does have an instant mana block, but it doesn't hit everyone. That and the fact that she herself, once she does that, she's essentially a dead weight, unless she's like really whaled and built DPS, which most aren't built DPS to my knowledge. So like when Dark Lord Kasel does it, you get 4 seconds of mana block, and then he's sitting there wailing on you, majority of the time in position 1, and he can deal out a lot of DPS in that short time frame. Whereas Requena, she's kind of left in the dust in my mind.
All right, that's very fair. A lot of the major complaints are definitely coming in from position 1 Kasel, I would say, though. If it was in position 1, it's literally diagonal. And to also counteract that, Requena can hit 3 targets, so it may not be all 4 targets, but Requena can definitely hit 3. All right, Pies. What about your side of PvP Dark Lord Kasel?
To be honest with you, okay, I've watched plenty of Dark Lord Castle stream, and I fight a handful of them. Not gonna lie, and I personally think he's underwhelming in PvP. Like, don't get me wrong, he is not weak, but he is not like like the Dark Lord. You know, the impression you get when you fight the Dark Lord himself. All right, like I was really hyped when Dark Lord Castle came out, and then after I go through his kit, I was like, this can potentially become something great in PvP. But then reality check is he end up in a really weird spot that he shouldn't be. Okay, first of all, we know that warriors. Okay, any PvPers know that warriors can be frontliner. They are frontliners, but they should not be position one tank. And now he end up in a position where like he execute his maximum potential if he is in position one tank, which is like you replace a knight in your roster, and that's just strange. Now, to the point when Earl say about the mana block earlier, first of all, there is a major counter to that. One, you can cleanse it. Two, you have heroes with 0 mana cleanse in this game. So it is cancer when you accompany it with ultra fast burst, and it ends up being a really cheesy comp that's also very breakable because they rely heavily on combo in LOH. In LOB, well, I'm sorry. You have to deal with it somehow. You either like put in a 0 mana cleanse or a Soul Spring Water, a 5-star Soul Spring Water or something. I know that a majority of people don't have the 5-star Soul Spring Water and whatnot, so it is cancer, but at the same time, I would say that the Quina is more cancer, in my opinion, as far as mana block goes.
And on the topic of cleansable, there are a lot of reliable cleanses that are very cheap and very low costing. Desarda being one, Refi having a 0 mana cleanse, and I'll be honest, a standard Soul Spring Water Lowman can easily cleanse that as well. But though that's near here or there, we all know that mana block in general is just a cancerous mechanic. And somebody brought up Lackrek. Yeah, there's also Lackrek that easily counter. I mean, there's counters. There's definitely counters. And people are not really looking at the counters. They're just looking at, oh, because this hero is, you know, blah, 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 blah.
Smacking me.
I have to bring a specific counter for it.
Yeah.
Anyways. Val, what about your thoughts about PvP Dark Lord Kasel?
He does. Me personally, whenever I verse Dark Lord Kasel, he does too much damage. like I versed your Dark Lord Kasel, I versed Eggsy's Dark Lord Kasel. They just one shot me. As soon as that soul weapon comes up, I'm dead. That's it. Like that soul weapon's like a win condition for me at least. Like that thing does so much damage. But I guess addressing like the main thing that everyone's concerned about with Dark Lord Kasel with the S1, like, I think a lot of people also forget with Requina S1, like, not just the mana block, but it amps 30% and it reduces block by 500. Like, a lot of people seem to forget that aspect, and it's uncleansable, so, yeah, Requina is still, like, far worse, in my opinion, than Dark Lord Kasel. Like, yeah, as we've all been saying, like, there are counters, but yeah, people just like to complain that that they can't counter it or it's too like strong when that kind of stuff happens, especially in League of Victory. But
it's currently because the use of Requina itself has kind of fallen off. Requina is not used as often.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's just because if Requena ever kind of spiked in usage again, you'll definitely see that kind of particular aspect. Right now, the focus is on Dark Lord Kasel because he's such a brand new hero, and a lot of people are bringing in and using him. So we kind of see a lot of people kind of just bringing this particular topic up. To give my particular thoughts, and really crispy fish tacos, no, we're not trying to defend that position 1 Dark Lord Kasel with S1 is balanced. We're just saying there are far worse situations and far worse things to fight, and it's not something that is not uncounterable. I'm going to be 100% honest. I continue to say mana block is literally the worst cheese mechanic in the game. I wish it wasn't a thing, but unfortunately it is a thing. But we're just trying to say, it's just people are thinking it's uncounterable. It is pretty easily countered. And to be honest, even if I fought a Dark Lord Kasel, a lot of the times I let him through. And I guess... Too. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, no. Go ahead. I would say I would fight a Dark Lord Kasel too.
Yeah. I think I'd rather fight a lot of other stuff than Dark Lord. I'd rather fight Dark Lord Kasel than a lot of other stuff. Especially, even if I see Dark Lord Kasel and Requena in the same exact comp, I get rid of Requena. I'm like, ugh, I'm not touching that. Mef says, the issue in LOH is that Dark Lord Kasel forces you to draft suboptimally or use unoptimal artifacts in a meta where drafting all the broken units is the way to win in Challenger. I mean, that's something, I guess. I mean, it makes you definitely start thinking outside the box, though. And I'll be honest, winning with unconventional comps has been an absolute blast to me. Of course, not everybody can probably do unconventional comps, but I mean that's the current state that we're in too. Requena, Desart, and Dark Lord Kasel on the same team. Rank 1 LOH is spamming Dark Lord position 1. Trillo, we all know rank 1 in LOH is currently Kampha, and yes, we've kind of all seen it. I'm even doing it myself. It's not a surprise. Yeah, it causes variety. Yep. And yeah, another one too. People who use UT1 immediately proc Radiance, so that's always a nice fun factor is who's gonna get bounced around?
There we go.
Who's gonna get bounced around? Yeah, Meth, think outside the box for Tina. Well, I think that's pretty much wraps it up about Dark Lord Kasel. Do you guys have any closing comments or concerns?
I do not.
No, not really.
No?
I think that's it, yeah.
I actually just suddenly thought of one, and this one doesn't really upset me in any particular way, but also how his skit, not necessarily skit, but him as a hero also gets buffs from Fallen Frey. It makes it feel like it's almost a necessity to always have Fallen Frey if you want to use Dark Lord Kasel. Personally, if you want my honest opinion, I would have wished they would not have done that. I would have wished that they would have just given him the stats or done something else or increased his scaling, because it feels like if you really, really want to use the hero and you want to optimize them to the max, you're kind of forced into also using Fallen Frey. Especially the fact that you have to both grab her UT4 and her unique weapon is her unique weapon, but it's also forcing you to use that hero. Now, luckily for us, Fallen Frey, and now kind of we're transitioning into it, Fallen Frey turned out to be an incredibly strong hero, but also kind of made her a necessity if you want to use Dark Lord Kasel. But let's start off at the top. PvE discussion on Fallen Frey. Earl, you're up.
Where do I start? She is beyond busted on the PvE side. I'll say as one of the few people that probably like A220 10 starter day 1. She trivializes like World Boss 1 and World Boss 3 like to a degree. Like you don't even really have to pay attention to the mechanics because of the shield. When she's that well built, it just never pops. So, and it has such a high uptime as well. Her amps, stuff like that. I'll probably hit the nail on the head with Val. She trivializes old Frey, unfortunately.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, she makes GC3 Velk, a breeze now. I mean, there's not much. She really takes away the skill from a lot of end game content, and it's unfortunate for me to say that. So.
That's true, though. That's true. You played the game on easy mode with the Fallen Frey.
Yeah. Yep. Literally an easy button in a character.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know that's fair. Powies, what about your opinion about Fallen Frey in PvE?
Busted, and beyond busted.
Busted
Like,
beyond busted.
yep, and beyond busted. You heard me right. Yep, like I am 100% with her on that. She solved every problem in PvE. Universal amp, you can literally fit her in any comp you want, and she would make life easier. Alright, everything is a walk in the field of flowers. And yeah, universal amp, high uptime shield, ridiculous heal scaling. Also had dispel in her kit too, and minus CC, and you know what? Even free stat at the beginning of the battle too, and that stick permanently. So it's like, hey, free stat for my DPS. Wow, who would love that, right? Also, she looks really good too.
Yeah, she's pretty good waifu. Not gonna lie.
She looks real waifu. She's real waifu material. Yes, yes.
We have a double standard by Chun Chun and Chad, but I'm not going to touch that subject. Vale, I'm scared to ask you, but I have to do it anyways. Your honest, clean
To the meat.
feelings on Fallen Frey
To the meat
in
and potatoes.
PvE.
All right. So
Time to hide.
for me, using her in PvE, I love using her. All right. Like being able to do this much damage feels like cheating. I don't feel like I should have this much power, and yeah, she's just straight up broken. Like she makes like so many other heroes just like completely useless. Like you don't need Shia anymore. You don't really need Anid anymore. Like she makes World Boss Vel'Khazar just like you don't even have to think anymore. Like you know how many people would love that, not to think in this game? Because people already do that. People don't think enough in this game. So just
Guilty as
release
charged.
a hero that makes them not need to think anymore. So yeah, like this was something that I always brought up when people would like ask me like, oh, what Frey buffs do you want? I'd never brought up anything about the shield because I thought, you know, the shield, like, having downtime on it is fine. Its scaling, I think, is fine. Like, maybe just, like, add a cleanse on it or something. But they went and did it. They gave a 100% uptime shield that is so big, or that can reach that, like, size. Like, there's obviously going to be problems with it, because you just don't die. That's been an issue that people, like, never really understood until now. So, yeah, she just does too much. She has cleanse, dispel, healing, shielding, basically CC immunity, like 90% amp. I think the amp, like the soul weapon amp, is really good uptime, and the S3 amp is like 20-second uptime with like a 22-second cooldown. Like,
Yeah.
she's just way too overtuned. It's ridiculous.
You use her as main DPS, not even a support, do you?
Yeah, I use her as a DPS. Like having a support that can also do damage while still doing their job. I think that's too much.
Val, I'm just so sorry. I'm just so sorry. And I know how much you love OG Frey, and I'll be honest, and it's probably as much as I love OG Kasel. We both got stiffed.
Yeah, definitely.
But I will care to admit that you probably got it a little harder. Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. I'll be honest, I love Fallen Frey. Personally, I've never really used OG Frey myself outside of my early game, so I do have that to admit. But I'll be honest, the only reason I currently use current Fallen Frey is because of the buffs that she gives straight to DLK. So yeah, I feel ya. I hope that this doesn't become a norm. Will they release a hero that can directly boost another hero? I don't want to see that. I can see it in terms of lore right now. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm not going to say too much about it. I can see it for terms of lore and terms of plot reasons and, you know, the whole dynamic between Lord Kasel and Fallen Frey being a thing. So I guess I see it as a cool factor, but I hope I never have to see it again in the game. I just don't think it's good gameplay.
I'm with you on that. I don't think it's a good thing.
I could agree with that. The fact that they made, like, you know, Dark Lord Kasel like by himself compared to when he's with Fallen Frey and the team, it's substantial. Yes,
huge difference.
I hope that they don't continue that track record.
Yeah. I mean, you saw in Big Shack where obviously he does not have Fallen Frey's assistance, and I don't want to make a Glady wheelchair joke because it's definitely not a Glady wheelchair joke, but the difference between with and without felt like he was in a wheelchair. Well, while we continue to let chat kind of gather their thoughts, let's quickly jump to the PvP aspect. Earl, what are your thoughts about the PvP aspect of Fallen Frey?
She's busted even there too. I mean, she can be a healer, sub DPS. Well, hell, even at some points a main DPS. She has a dispel, cleanse. I mean, essentially when you pick her, I mean, you give yourself an edge. If you get first pick, I mean, it can make or break the match easily. So I don't know. She's busted universally everywhere.
Busted universally. GG's, man. GG's. Well, Pies, what about yourself? What are your thoughts about PvP Fallen Frey?
She's oppressive. She's oppressive. Not gonna lie. Alright. Yeah. Well, a lot of players are hype about the Dark Lord Kasel and Fallen Frey release, and we see a lot of Fallen Frey and Dark Lord Kasel running around now, right? And let's be honest here, Fallen Frey is the better of the two. That's why I see a lot of Fallen Frey running around more than Dark Lord Kasel. And let's see now, what is she missing in PvP? She got cleanse, she got shield with ridiculous uptime. She got CC, she got dispel all in one. Low cooldown too, let's not forget about that. She gave free stat to everybody, and she can DPS you to death too. Oh my god.
So in other words, she's the whole package, and she's a waifu to boot.
Waifu to boot.
Yes, it is a question, like, to me, like, the harder question to answer is what does she not do in PvP?
She doesn't have a third leg.
Oh, wow.
And there we go.
That's the only thing I can think of.
And there we go.
Well, I mean, that's all fair. Well, Val, how about yourself? And once again, I'm scared to ask this question, but how do you feel about Fallen Frey in PvP?
Alright, so when we first got like the patch notes for the Fallen Fate update, and we saw Fallen Frey, I remember distinctly the first thing I said was, she's like Juno. So, and we all know how good Juno is in PvP. She's got like so much healing, a cleanse, a dispel, she's got a lot. Fallen Frey basically does the same thing, but has more amping. Like, amping is like pretty important in PvP, at least in LOH, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, her soul weapon I think is substantially better because it also has attack speed, slow, amping as well. The mini stuns on her S3 with max mana, like that can make or break a match in most situations. Like if you can interrupt something, like that's pretty huge. But yeah, she just does too much. Like she's a one-in-all pack. She's an all-in-one package. And another thing she also has an edge on Juno is she's not an NPC. So you're not gated by NPC gifts to like make her unique weapon better or something like that. Like you can just get that thing up to. Yeah, she's a lot more accessible. So yeah, you're giving a lot of people this much power, and I don't know.
Also, another thing she got an edge. Like I'm not trying to get into like who's better, Fallen Frey or Juno, but also another thing that Fallen Frey is, she had an edge on Juno about in PvP is that her burst heal potential. Juno heals a lot too, but it's an overtime heal. What Fallen Frey can do is one heal and you go back to full HP. It's a lot.
Well,
she heals with every skill she used, and she heals with her S1. That's also a dispel and a cleanse. I mean, no, it's not a cleanse, it's a dispel. A cleanse is a shield.
Well, you guys
Yeah.
kind of touched up on everything I kind of want to talk about. One of the cool aspects that we did not mention, and Chad is also throwing it out there, is the fact that she can also mana drain. I heard a lot of you guys say that it was a little Pepega. I honestly think I think it's still pretty good.
It's decent. It sounds really good, and it is noticeable in PvP, but it doesn't make as huge of impact as it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, it's another thing she just has in her kit, though.
Yes.
I feel like if you
she has it.
Yeah, I feel like if you're gonna take the mana drain perk, just take the damage perk instead. Like, I see a lot of, like, honestly, like, the only difference between my Fallen Frey and other people's Fallen Freys is, like, the ET. Like, other Fallen Freys can probably be doing the same amount of damage as my Fallen Frey, or even more, if you just take that perk. Like, just do it. She does a lot of damage anyway, so why not? Just throwing that out there, you know?
One of the audience comments was, we honestly might see shield-destroying mechanics leading to Chapter 10 as a PvE balance. Let me tell you my exact thoughts about this. This actual thought terrifies me. I actually do not like shield-breaking mechanics. Not saying that current shields are balanced, but it's going to invalidate even other heroes that are, you know... For example, we already know that Frey's shield cannot hold a candle to Fallen Frey. We know Evan has a really spicy shield, but indirectly it will also hurt Loman's shield, which is not all that powerful. And I'll be honest, and throwing it out there, it literally completely would invalidate Laius's S2. I would be sad if I lost Laius's S2 bubble, okay?
That completely invalidates Frey as a character too. Come on.
Well, I guess OG Frey would be. She'll be sitting on
She
her
doesn't
hands,
need to
just
be,
smiling.
like, any more useless. Come on, don't
She'll
do this to me.
she'll be sitting on her hands, just smiling, like, there goes everything I have.
Yep.
Looking at other comments, forgot about the mana drain. Can you guys... Even Fallen Frey non-fully optimized gear is extremely powerful. That really shouldn't be too much of a problem. Well, I guess that kind of wraps it up. A lot of people are talking about a Theo mechanic for Jane, or Jane to Theo, whatever. That's a no. Flynn biased with his not reading that one. Yeah, just nerf Fallen Frey and call it a day. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I hope they do adjust, though. If it isn't Shield Break, then Chapter 10 will probably be Dispel Central. There's probably definitely Dispel Central, and there's a lot of things that could be done. It's just... It's a tough. Shields are a core mechanic to this game because they will help negate a lot of damage. Because, let me be honest, PvE balancing and PvP balancing are two different things. And if they just had something that in PvE that would get rid of shields, that would just increase the level of difficulty beyond something that you can imagine. At least that's my honest opinion. I think we use shields ourselves a lot to increase heal, to increase attack speed, attack, and just so many other things. I don't feel right with shield and somebody also somebody brought this one up, and I'm not sure how you guys feel about it. Somebody said that they'll probably come up with a hero that will ignore shields. I'm not okay with that either.
No, definitely not.
No. I mean,
As
what
a
they,
Frey,
What?
definitely not.
and I feel like...
Heroes?
No, you can go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I mean, like, at least from the PvE aspect in future updates, they don't have to go with, like, shield, ignoring mechanics or breaking mechanics. They could just add in more common dispels to endgame content, or, like, more recent content, or more recent future content, I should say. It's like, Zera already bust shields, so I hope they don't release another Zera or make that a future trend. That's probably what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But, especially like on the PvP side, like shields are so crucial to a lot of different comps. And if you release one hero that just bypasses that mechanic completely, that just throws the game even more of an imbalance. So.
Okay. Pies, were you about to say something?
To be honest with you, shield is okay. However, shield, I think the way we're using the shield in PvP right now is the thing that kind of aggravates me about the shield is that you can't even inflict the buff stack when the hero is shield. It's like hero with stacking mechanism cannot gain stacks when they're hitting a shield. That is what I'm not okay with. And then, well, I'm trying not to bring up Evan here, but Undispellable Shield is busted. And then experienced player with a good timing can time the shield in PvP, and that's basically that's a game changer button right there. Not gonna lie. And well, shield breaking mechanism can be a thing, but we all know that Zora right now is limited with her use because she can only target one person with her S1, which is her shield breaker. So if a hero can ignore all the shields, that's just beyond broken. I'm not okay with that. I feel like the shielding mechanism in the game right now is more powerful than what it should be. The idea about shield is it can block damage. Sure, you can give buff to yourself, but it shouldn't prevent you from getting debuffed. That's just me.
I think the point of a shield, though, is to literally protect. So not preventing debuffs and CC, I think should be part of the mechanic. It's just right now, I think right now they're abusing the amount of shields they're giving heroes and how powerful those shields are. I do think those need to be toned down a little bit because the shielding mechanic is incredibly powerful. And I'll be honest, if you were able to CC and debuff through shield, you'd immediately see how terrible the game is. And it literally makes shield heroes pretty much practically useless. So yeah, you didn't take any HP damage, but it didn't save you from being able to act. I would say, I would word it to you this way. Imagine that you you had a shield hero, and they went up and they were fighting a Nikki, and she was able to debuff you right through that shield. What's the point?
Good point. But also, Undispellable Shield McNicky is not even a hero anymore.
I mean, and that's fair, but that's why if you're a Nikki player, you would ban Evan, and obviously if you are facing a Nikki and you rely on shields, you ban Nikki. I mean, that's kind of the whole kind of give and take aspect of things, but it's just like that's how it would play out if you were able to debuff through shields. Like, imagine even if you did not have that Undispellable Shield, and Nikki was swinging her unique weapon, and she ends up hitting one of your melee players, and it doesn't go on, it goes on cooldown because you only hit one, and then you Loman cleanse, and then she goes and spins again, and boom, same thing.
Maybe not the CC part. Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe not the CC part.
Oh, and basic Durafology. I guess right now we're kind of talking about shields, even though that really wasn't the whole topic. He does say Daka is also pretty balanced since getting dispelled, but his whole kit relies on shield. That's actually very fair. I do think they probably just need to visit the shield mechanic in specific, and I kind of don't want to go further into this because it looks like we jumped from Fallen Frey onto shields.
I just prove how OP his shield is.
I guess so. Well, to keep trekking on along, because I don't want to keep holding us up, let's talk about the story dungeon, and I'll look for Chapter 10. So, Earl, have you kept up with the story? And I'm pretty sure I've asked you this before, because we talked about story in a previous podcast, but what did you feel? Did you watch this current sub-story that we had?
Yeah, I watched the complete sub-story. It had me in a very feels bad moment. Like,
Feels bad, man.
Chapter 10, I can only imagine is going to be even worse, to be honest with you. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not looking forward to the feels train that's going to be coming around, so.
That's very fair. Pies, what about yourself? Have you kept up the story and now the side story dungeon?
I did, actually, and it caught me in the train of feels too, not gonna lie.
Being a castle main, being castle and Frey mains, it hits the hardest, man.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's like, damn, dude. I didn't sign up for this. I'm not ready for this.
I didn't sign up for this. I didn't think this through.
But at the same time, I feel like, I don't know, like, the story development-wise, I feel like Chapter 10 is gonna be epic and tragic at the same time. So, we're gonna have, like, the fight against the Dark Lord, and it's gonna be, like, who the fallen heroes. So I'm like, who is the real bad guy here? Like, I question my own, like, morality, and I'm like, I'm not sure if we're even the right guy before, because we all know like how Castle goes through it, try to save everybody and fall into the Dark Lord, and now we have to save the world. But who's exactly the bad guy here now? So it's a really like deep deep twist to the story. That's my thought on it. What is right? What is wrong? I don't know.
Before I jump to Val, Crispy Fish Tucker says Castle sitting in that throne at the end pick with Frey feels too good to be Vespa. Dude, let me tell you how hard that particular picture hurt me, but I will be back to that one in a second. Val, how about your feelings? Because I know you and I were both crying.
Yeah,
we were both
yeah.
in damn tears.
Yeah, I definitely was crying. Like there was like I watched the whole or like the rest of the sub story off stream because when I was streaming the Fallen Frey stuff, I only got up to the second one just because I wanted to get the heroes and then stream wanted me to just start raising them. But after that, and I watched it, I cried myself to sleep, man. As depressing as that sounds.
No.
And then the second half, like the last few entry tickets that you could use. Like,
Yeah,
oh my God.
the second half was terrible. Obviously, we had to wait till the following day to get that, but oh my God.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
while I let Chet kind of give us their thoughts, you guys, I wanted to kind of mention it this way. This is how I feel the story started. We did have a cliche, typical story when we started with King's Raid. We had, and I'll say it, we had a generic protag. Yeah, even though I fell in love with the generic protag, he was a generic protag. I did fall in love with him, and the story was incredibly generic, but it started slowly turning, obviously by the time we got to chapter 7. We saw the route it took in 8, and then we got hit with what I'm going to label as the shitstorm in chapter 9. By that time, I don't think anybody really expected, but a lot of these people, everybody seems to have gotten so uninvested in story just because it started off as a cliche anime story. And I want to kind of just let everybody know that you guys got to realize when a game first begins like King's Raid, they probably don't know if the game is going to succeed or not. And they probably just did what they could with story, and obviously when King's Raid took off, that's when you finally saw a lot of the love and passion go into the story and how it turned. And you gotta realize, even Kasel stopped being a generic protag. I mean, it changed. Yeah, it started off as one, but he's definitely no longer a generic protag in my honest opinion. And they updated. They didn't really change them, but they did update the first 2 chapters, so there was definitely that. In terms of the actual side story itself that we got, you guys, you saw me, I think it was the first 5 keys, you guys already saw me stream that. I choked up. I tried my best not to cry on stream. I was having a difficult time, and I'll be honest, by that time that 5th chapter wrapped up, I was kind of glad it did, because all I wanted to do was start building and kind of forget about what just happened. But the final 2 portions of that particular story were terrible. Yeah, and yes, the story did progressively get better, and it really did. And to be honest, chapter 9 was just such a curveball. Nobody really, I guess some people could have expected it. I just think that it was an incredible curveball, and I don't know what chapter 10 is going to be like, but obviously from the producer vid, they said that chapter 10 was going to be huge, and it's going to be a big chapter. So we have that to look forward to. I don't know, guys. Those were my honest thoughts on it. Story started getting much better after Crow Sub-Story. That's still my favorite one. That's very fair. Oh, and kind of touching upon what you said, Pies, you don't know who the true enemy is. I know a lot of us have been quote-unquote shitting on Lua because she kind of, once again, was the one who kind of failed to back up Kasel and let Kasel fall into darkness. But I also have a different theory. Maybe all that we've seen through story is Leah making her move, and we're kind of on a cliffhanger, and maybe Lua is ready to start making her move, and we'll see what she does. There's that potential. I mean, it's just a theory, but it's there.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential to
Lua, poopy head.
At this point. That's a lot. I agree. So, yep, there's a lot to look forward into story-wise.
I wouldn't last long in this game. 1, because of the story. Really, you did not like the story? That's actually surprising, Jane, considering that you like Kasel. Alright. Well, I guess what we should do now is get ready to address the elephant in the room, and one of the biggest things that recently happened, which was the Eclipse changes. And man, do people have thoughts. And I've seen everything ranging from praising their change to absolutely, well, shitting on it.
Oh,
Let's start off with you, Earl. What are your thoughts about the Eclipse changes?
We talked about it a little bit earlier, but before we went live, about the Eclipse changes. Now that I think about it more on it, like, I'm glad they increase significantly the amount of lower end ether that we get. So it helps raising like multiple units up to, ether 5, ether 10 for like when we're ready to E1 or A1, A2 them. I really wish that they slightly buffed the gold ether drop that you get, because like, even with people that have been playing since Soul Weapon release, they could probably have, with decent RNG and maybe the occasional top up, 1, 2, potentially 3 A2s. But they're kind of gated by gold ether, especially back then where you can only 20 to 25% chance it, and a lot of people probably failed that. But now you can 100% chance it, but that change is really recent. So I really wish that with the change that they made to the ether enhancements, where you 100% it, they would have buffed Eclipse to where you could get, maybe 50 gold ether per run or something like that. I know Vespa needs to make money on that end, but like, gold ether gates a lot of people and a lot of free to play that don't whale, in my mind. So.
All right, no, that's totally fair. What are your thoughts on waves clearing now? So a lot of people were like one-teaming so much of the actual Eclipse. So now every time you start a team, they kind of start back at ground zero. How are your feelings on that?
I mean, it's not too bad, because obviously like you can just super speed through it, and like
Turbo.
your gearing is
Gotta go fast.
Gearing's a little bit better. So you could run multiple teams during it, so it offsets itself in my mind. So like, you can have a bunch of teams, but it's not going to take you an hour plus to run each one, so long as they're adequately geared. And the way the system's set up is, if majority of your teams get to like waves 10 through 20, you can get a couple gold ether drops, and you can have like, maybe 1 or 3 really strong teams that get you, past waves 30, 40, etc., to make the overall runs worth it. So they did a good job by adding in like the option to make it faster. If they didn't do that, then
providing some extra keys too. So
yeah, increasing the key limit as well, and the free keys too. I mean, that's always a plus. Can't really see much complaining from me.
Okay. All right, Pies, what are your thoughts on Eclipse?
yeah, so that's how I feel about Eclipse. All right. So, first of all, it's a drastic change, and let's just say that I feel like a lot of people fall under the impression that when Vespa promised that they make it easier to acquire ethers, this is not a buff to ether game, in my opinion. It's a change in ether game. It's you getting, essentially, my feeling about Eclipse change is that you are doing more for less gold ether, which is the only kind of ethers that, high end game content that you really want to aim for. But you get more of the lower tier ethers. So even though like the little thing I noticed about it is like the Kane NPC buff. Instead of getting 20% attack buff, you get 100k attack buff to everyone. And for people who's been like, one teaming to like for 70, 80 whatsoever, 20% attack is substantially more than 100k attack. Originally, design of Eclipse is that you have to run multiple teams. So now they're finally, redesigning Eclipse to serve that purpose, like to make people building more heroes, building more team. So, but at the same time, it's just it gave so many people from getting gold ether. Yeah. So it is a buff to a budget teams, a budget heroes, and it's a nerf to a highly invested heroes, essentially. And then I have a lot of mixed feelings about that too. It's like, you know, now it takes more time, and you're getting less ethers. You having way more low tier ether. You get less gold ether, which is really what you came for. So I I don't think it is a buff. It's a change for sure, but it's not a buff or a nerf either. It's not a buff. It's not a nerf. It's a change. It's just more like evenly spread out in terms of ether game. That's all, because we had a huge shortage of the lower tier ether and all kind of ethers, and now it's just like pushing the gold ether into further deficit and get rid of the problem about the lower tier ether. Actually, yeah, like Chad would say, I completely agree with that. Like an ether crafting system, to be honest, it's like you use lower tier ether to craft higher end tier ethers. That would solve everything, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Well, Val, what's your thoughts about the Eclipse changes?
So from my experience, like, yeah, I'm definitely getting more ether. Like, this does feel like a buff to ether gain, especially with the golds, but it really does depend on how you approached Eclipse before. Like, I know some people that invested heavily into Selene just for Eclipse, but now that this change has happened, all that investment kind of feels a lot less what's the word? I'm not really sure what the word is, but it doesn't feel as impactful anymore, because you were hitting wave 70, 80 with that Selene, but now you're not getting anywhere near the same amount of gold ethers, and you probably don't have as many other invested DPS that can fill those other teams. Because the main thing with this new Eclipse is you have to have multiple DPS ready, multiple supports, multiple tanks, all geared already. Some people probably really don't have that. It really hurts some new players and some people that really were stuck on that old Eclipse mechanics. But I think the majority of the player base, in the middle, where most people are, which is somewhere in that middle ground, are going to see more ether gains. And then there's also the fact that they reduced the healing reduction debuff, which I think is really, really good. Reduce the damage that bosses do, or enemies do, but also scaled their HP drastically. I feel like that's really also changed how people need to go about it, because I'm seeing more people thinking more tanky approaches rather than the instant 6-7 second burst window that you have with a Spirit Morph Ring. So it's definitely a huge change that people are going to need to adjust to, but overall it does feel like for a majority of the player base it is an increase in ethers, and it's at least a better step in the right direction, I guess. They also said this is how they wanted Eclipse to look like having multiple teams ready to fight a bunch of different waves, rather than how everyone was going about it with Spirit Morph Ring in one team and just going as high as you can with a single team. Yeah.
Well, before I start reading off some of the audience comments, one of the things I did want to mention myself is a lot of people have been kind of mentioning this as a buff or nerf to Eclipse. I wanted to say that I don't feel that it's a buff or nerf to Eclipse. I think it's more of just a straight up change. I think the first version of Eclipse is not exactly how they wanted to promote that content, and they changed it so that it's more suitable to how they originally envisioned it, rather than just simply changing or nerfing and buffing how it works. So essentially, a lot of people have been saying that I think it's incredibly nice change to promote multiple teams and buff blue and purple ether. Trillo, I couldn't agree with you more. And kudos to Vespa, indeed. However, the time gap from 15 to 20 ether is still horrible, and I spend a lot of money frequently. And you know what? I don't blame you. The last stretch on soul weapons from 15 to 20 is absolutely terrible. And even though they included that additional ether gold spend, I mean, at the end of the day, you are still spending all that gold ether just to get it. So there was definitely that. Earl, you kind of commented in chat saying most Eclipse teams would be designed to one-shot bosses, so the HP default put a damper on that aspect. Somebody else also said that the morphing strat is kind of also dying out because of the fact that they're inflated with HP. I'm looking at so many. An Ether exchange system would be pretty pog. Lunite, that's actually a really good comment. An Ether exchange program, if you want to exchange lower Ethers for a higher tier, that's not too bad. I think that's actually a pretty decent idea. Alright, I think that is honestly kind of wrapping it up in terms of audience comments. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I mean, I think that we've pretty much covered all our bases, hit the nail on the head. You know, I mean, overall the rework was not too bad. It just depends on really what you're looking at from it, in my mind. You know, end game players, you know, you're gonna receive reduced gold ether amount for the most part, but you're gonna have increase, you know, lower ether. It kind of messes up, you know, brands making new players, because obviously they're not gonna be able to do multiple like solid teams to get, you know, past wave 10 to acquire gold ether, etc. But like mid-game players, really depends on where they put their resources, so they could be in the same boat. I mean, it kind of hits all the bases really, no matter really how you look at it.
I got you, and that's totally fair. And I did want to mention to you guys, and not just us here in chat, but to everybody who's currently tuned into the podcast, you guys, even though Vespa is listening to us as players, and obviously they're not going to obviously accommodate every little thing, especially, you know, with everything going on, know that they are definitely listening to us, and they do tune into these actual podcasts, so keeping a professional opinion goes a long way. And I do want to remind you guys that Vespa's putting out a lot of surveys for feedback. Don't be afraid to fill the surveys with an actual opinion that you think is viable. They are listening and they are reading, and they want to make the game fun for us. Just like how we love Kingsraid to them is also their lifeblood. So fill out those surveys and give out your opinion. Just don't be Pepega about it. Alright, to kind of wrap up stream, let's talk about some future content. Earl, what do you think about future content in the game? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think we might get?
The world's their oyster in my mind. They could go through multiple different avenues. At least for me, is obviously how they're going to be handling A3. I hope they don't, just dumbfound it and just double the amount of required soul stones, so 8. Please don't. Please don't. No, but I mean, just something like that. They could easily just like make it to where you acquire X amount of soul stones in some new material or something like that. As far as like upcoming chapter 10, if they do increase the level cap, I hope that they tread lightly with like the stat increase that you would give to all the characters. Difficulty scaling for the chapter, I don't think it would be that bad. I mean, they've already nerfed chapters multiple times. A lot of it's just gear issue or like DPS user weapon investment, stuff like that. So I mean, they're on the right track. They just got to take it step by step, take it easy.
Fair enough. Pies, any ideas for future content besides deleting Lorraine and our poison?
Legion Crowns, honestly. I hope that we can have Legion Crowns before we release A3. It's been there since I started this game. It's been there, and it keeps saying coming soon, and I don't know when. So yeah, there's that. I'm really hoping we would get that.
That's
and
fair.
What else can I hope for? Like that's all mainly because I'm a PvP player, so
It's
I've
totally
been
fair.
looking at that coming soon button. I've been like, no, yeah, me too, kid. I'm hoping for that too, but I agree with Earl on that. Like, A3 release, I really, really hope that, it's not going to be 8 soul stones because please don't. Uh, yeah, just don't. Yes, gearing system. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if we have a new, a new kind of gears popping up in our gameplay. Like, instead of the good old, like, hero protection, hero suppression, Dark Legion gears, Beast of Chaos, yeah, Manticore gear. Well, Dragon gears, nobody uses it anymore. So I just think that maybe we're going to see something that just like a renaissance out of nowhere. Is that? But yes. If we do increase level cap, I would see that a lot of the current stats gonna when they up the tier of the gears to T9. I suppose that's how it goes. T9 is gonna be a lot of stat inflated, so there's extra cautious step to take about it.
Okay. All right. Well, Valella.
Well, for me personally, what I would really like to see is probably more boss content, because I know we recently got Shakmare, and that introduced a lot of like really interesting mechanics, and it really shows like what they can really do with these kinds of things. So like maybe having another world boss or a new guild conquest boss would be nice, because it's been like what, over a year since we've had anything new. It would be nice to it would be nice to have like new additions to those kind of things, because me personally, like me and Yen, we love running challenge raid. Like challenge raid is just a lot of fun for us. Like we ran Calyx all the time, we ran the Castle challenge raid all the time. Like we really love doing this kind of stuff, like boss content, group boss content, that kind of stuff. And that's what really like keeps us in the game as well, because it really like tests a lot of mechanical skill, and it really tests a lot of like your knowledge about other heroes and what they can do. So just something like that, really, like something that can really test people's mechanical skill, I feel, because a lot of the content at this point is starting to like feel a little stale and maybe even brain dead with Fallen Frey. I'm just saying. But yeah, just something like that, something that can really diversify things and really start to separate out like who knows their mechanics and who doesn't.
And that's honestly totally fair. I'll be honest, I'm on board. I would love to see a little more guild content. I gotta be honest, I'm not too happy about Guild Wars. I think Guild Wars in Epic 7 has been absolute trash. That is my honest opinion. I do not enjoy Guild Wars in this game. It feels like a chore. And it's really funny because you guys asked me if I still play Epic 7, and I only tell you guys the only reason I still play Epic 7 is because I love their Guild War content. And if it was a little more like that, I would probably be all over King's Raid's Epic, or King's Raid's Guild War. But above and beyond wanting maybe an additional mode in Guild Raid, because Guild Raid Hell has pretty much gone to easy mode now, so you blast through that and literally in the first hour of opening it up. I would love to have more constant story updates. It feels like it's been so long since we've got chapter 9 and we're finally getting chapter 10 after such a long time. I really would not mind for just simply more chapters, maybe 2 a year instead of going 1 every 1 year and a half. That's just my honest opinion. I don't know, guys. That's what I got to say on that topic. And I think that kind of pretty much wraps it up. I'm reading chat. Everybody's talking about League of Crowns and people just memeing with soul treasures and artifacts. And, well, I guess that's pretty much it. Do you guys have any closing comments and concerns before we wrap it up?
I do not, no.
Very well.
Nerf Lorraine.
But nerf Lorraine? Delete Lorraine when? Okay. Well, everybody, if you would please give a quick round of applause to our 3 guests. Thank you so much, Earl. Thank you so much, Pies. And thank you so much, Creator Val, for joining me today. I had an awesome time. I hope you guys had a good time yourself. I am going to go ahead and hop out of chat quickly to do the sign off. I do have a quick reminder for tomorrow's stream, so I want to do that. And then I will see you guys in the Discord chat.
Peace out, Flynn. Thank you for having us.
See you guys.
Thank you for having us.
To everybody else who is still in stream, thank you guys so much for joining us on this Flynncast Friday. We are definitely on the 4th episode. I am so surprised that we are already up to episode 4. Kind reminder that tomorrow is our normally scheduled stream, Saturday morning, 10 a.m. We have our Challenger Reel, and we will take brand new challengers if the interest is high enough. Again, I wanted to quickly remind you guys that if you see the surveys from Vespa, please fill them out. Again, they do take a lot of feedback. And if you guys ever want to participate in the next podcast, I will have... Oh, actually, I cannot say that. The next podcast, which is July, we are planning a secret special podcast, and I can't divulge the details because it's in the early planning stages. However, if it's something that we are able to pull off and we get through, I am sure you guys are going to be ecstatic about it. I am certainly ecstatic about it. I will give you one quick hint. Prep some questions that you'd legitimately want Vespa to potentially answer, and in July you might just get those answers. We'll see how that goes. I will definitely leave it at that. I don't want to say any more. And then probably in August, of course, if everything stays the same, in August we will bring guests back and we will continue the normal version of the podcasts. So I think that does wrap it up for everything I did want to say. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. If you guys enjoyed the stream or the podcast, nothing makes me happier than a follow. And if you are brand new, I'm going to drop the link to my Discord inside of chat. Feel free to join the Discord. I am always in there. That definitely wraps it up. I will see you guys tomorrow for our regularly scheduled League of Honor Bully stream and our Challenger Reel. I love you guys. Have a wonderful Friday evening, and I will see you guys tomorrow.